Hi friends, good evening. This is Ashley at Uncommon Roots Homestead, and you are about to watch a video about harvesting sweet potatoes that we grew in a container. I realized as I am editing that video right now that I never said hello. So count this as your hello and let's jump back over to those sweet potatoes.
Thank you, Josh.
Look at all the little bugs.
I don't know if that's nasty, but I put this out.
Ooh.
Oh, he's a big one.
You got another one?
Yep.
You got another big one?
Uh,
Are these
dead stuff.
are all these sweet potatoes?
Here, hold that up. Shoot. Oh, here we
Where do I
go.
put this?
Oh, nice. There you go.
Where do I put this?
Nice. Right.
Okay, so as you saw, we took all the potatoes and we dumped them. So this year I grew potatoes in those big gallon toy bins. I actually got them at Target. They're like $6.99 each. I wanted to experiment. Right now we live in a neighborhood, so we bought acreage, as you know, but we don't live there yet. So our garden is here in our suburban backyard, and that means that we are a little bit short on space, especially when it comes to in-ground vegetables and root vegetables that take up a significant portion of room. So I wanted to test some container gardening with potatoes and sweet potatoes this year. So I did sweet potatoes in those big toy bins, like I said, and then I did potatoes in grow bags. I will say that I am counting it less than successful. I think that there's definitely a benefit to container gardening, and I know that there are things that do really well in containers, and I know that there are people who garden in containers all the time. And before I even start, I want to say that if you're in a place in your life right now where your only option is container gardening, then garden in containers. They work. You will get food. And at the end of the day, we ended up with food. I ended up with potatoes and sweet potatoes, and it's more than I had when I started. And for that, I'm thankful. But I think for scalability and sustainability, containers are not really what I want to use moving forward for those two things. I'm still on the lookout for, what fruits and vegetables really thrive in containers. I've tried tomatoes in the past. I feel like they didn't do so hot. I don't know if my containers were too small or what. I know that some people have a lot of success. I think I'm going to try lettuce in the winter. I have a lot of really great containers, so even though we have more space now and we are starting to garden over on the land, I might as well use the containers I have. I don't want to waste them, so I'll be trying a couple more things this fall probably, and then also into next spring. I've heard people do hot peppers in containers pretty frequently, and those do well, so I'll try those as well. But back to the sweet potatoes and the potatoes, I think that with sweet potatoes specifically, the way that they grow, they kind of ramble and they set more roots, and with each set of new roots that they set, they grow more sweet potatoes. So when you grow them in a container, if they ramble outside of the container, or you don't fold them back in, or they just don't root back down, you're not going to end up with very many sweet potatoes. So I want to show you how many we got. I've got the little bucket here, and I'm not really sure, so you can kind of see. This is how many we ended up with. I'd say I probably ended up with somewhere around like 5 pounds of sweet potatoes, and then way less potatoes. I had 4 grow bags and ended up with maybe like 15 potatoes total. But you know what? There's so much learning in that. And I do not regret for 1 minute growing my potatoes or my sweet potatoes in containers this year. But I do want to help people, because I know before I started, I was doing a lot of Googling and I was trying to figure out, like, can you grow sweet potatoes in a container? What kind of container is best? And I had seen where other people use those toy containers and they seem to have more success than I did. I don't know if I planted them a little bit too late or what, but if you are planning on growing sweet potatoes in containers, set your expectations accordingly, and you can only be surprised, right? Like, if you set your expectations a little bit lower, it can only go up from there. But yeah, I don't think I will be planting sweet potatoes in containers again. I think that the most economical way to grow sweet potatoes is probably to, start with either seed potatoes if you can buy them, or some organic sweet potatoes from the store, and actually let those sprout and then start there. Sweet potato starts are pretty expensive, and I think for what I paid for the 6 starts, I probably could have gotten more sweet potatoes at the store. But for me, growing my own food isn't about saving money. It isn't about, getting more for my money. It's about knowing where my food came from start to finish. And I think that's really cool. And so even though I only got, probably 3 or 4 meals worth of sweet potatoes out of those 2 huge toy containers, it's worth it for the learning experience for me. And now I know that, next year I do want to do those in ground, and I do want to dedicate some space to them. And even if you are in a suburban neighborhood, you can probably sacrifice a little bit of your yard for something like that. And that's what's really cool about gardening, is that even when you have a quote unquote failure or something that just doesn't work the way you want it to work, you can still take from that and apply those learnings to the next season and do something even greater. And that's why I love it. And that's why I love, exploring new ways to do things that I've never done before. I've never grown sweet potatoes before. And this is my second time growing potatoes in grow bags, and it's about the same every time. Honestly, I'll probably do potatoes in grow bags again, because often we have potatoes in our pantry that we have let sit there too long and they start sprouting, and what else are you going to do with them? So I just throw them in the grow bag, and I'm not losing anything. I only have things to gain. So I want to encourage you, if you are trying something new that you've never done before, or you're interested in growing something like sweet potatoes, just try it. Give it a try. Set your expectations lower than you think you need to, and you can only be surprised. But for me, probably won't do them in containers again. So I'm gonna take these inside, and I'm going to give them a nice scrub because they're pretty darn dirty. And then I'm gonna set them out to cure, and I'm gonna make something delicious. Even if I did only end up with a couple pounds of sweet potatoes, it's food, and food is better than a lawn. Okay, so I went ahead and I rinsed all of those sweet potatoes. I got, a couple of pounds, a decent amount. Probably for a family our size, 3 or 4 meals worth, because we'll use them as like a side and things like that. But so now that I've rinsed them, I want to make sure they get completely dry, and then I'm going to set them in the pantry, like in the bottom of the pantry with my squash, for a little bit to let them cure. So they've already been sitting in the basket for 3 days, and then I'm just going to let them cure a little bit longer, and then you can do whatever you want with them. And you could eat them today if you wanted, but they'll just last longer if you let that skin on the outside harden up and you let them cure. So that's what I'm gonna do. I also need to wash the potatoes that I harvested. I'll show you how many I got. I'd say equally as, I want to use the word disappointing, but I'm really not that disappointed. I just feel like I learned a lot, and we didn't get a lot, but that's okay. We don't need a lot. And that is one of the things that I love about gardening is you can explore, you can try new things, and a fail still results in food. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.